See you.
It's a great meeting.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, please.
Trustee Champlain. Here. Trustee McFetrich. Here. Trustee Champlain.
Here.
Trustee Garrett. Here. Mayor Martin.
Here. Okay, need a motion to approve the minutes of December 10th, 2018.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Is there any additions, deletions, discussion?
I didn't see anything.
Nope.
Okay, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any disapproval? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the special village board meeting of December 20th, 2018.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second?
Okay, is there any discussion here?
No. Seems fine.
Let me, if we could, before I bring you up to date, I talked to Mr. Murnane this morning about, or this afternoon, I guess, about the building that is in question here. His advice is to not do the quick claim thing. His advice is to go along with the land bank meeting that we all attended last week. I think he feels that it's better for us to go that way than try to bring a suit or try to take over that property by a quick claim deed. I asked if we could put a lien on the other properties that this person owns in the village, and he felt that yes, we could put another lien on the two properties that are also owned by this individual. But he felt, and I think I agree with him, he felt that they would just walk away from those two buildings. I asked if there was, part of this lien was to deal with the contents of one of the buildings, and he said no, it was just the property itself. So we're going to talk about this land bank here in a little bit anyway, but that was his recommendation dealing with this.
So you want to discuss that now or in business?
I'd rather do it under new business.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
No,
Aye.
Any
Abstain.
disapproval? One abstention? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the special board meeting of December 29th, 2018.
So moved?
Have a second?
second?
This is where we dealt with our insurance
Mm-hmm.
and the Village of Champlain resolution of support for dedicated for the PEG access channel. You notice that there was a letter to the editor today. I will comment on that in my report, which do a little different here. And I also sent a letter of support to the editor this afternoon, so that should be in the paper soon. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention, motion carries. Presentation of petitions, communications, general question period for members of the community.
Oh, I think that's me.
Sir,
I'm here on behalf of the library. I just wanted to give an update. Last year I was here about this time, actually, I think it was December, I came to visit you and kind of gave you an overview of what we were looking to do. And I just want to give you a recap because you guys did fund us at an additional $500 last year. And I wanted to give you an update as to what we did, not necessarily just with the money that you gave us, but with all of the money and the activities that we've been working on. So last year, just to give you a recap, we held snow days. These were events, snow days over the holidays in February. Kids and families could come in, and we had different events each day. So we'd have a game board day, and we had Lego day, and we just did different things each day, very well received, and they're planning to do it again in about 3 or 4 weeks here. We had a couple of cleanup days where we actually cleaned up and made the outside of the facility look a little more presentable. The weeds, kind of grow up and you need to do some maintenance on it, so we got that done. We have story hours every month that are attended by a regular, very faithful group, and that are run by a volunteer, independent of our librarian. We attended the Village Fest Day. You may have seen our table down there. We had a book sale, and we had some information available. We participated in the trunk or treat, which was very, very successful. This is our second year of doing that, and thank you, Janet, and the community for putting that together. I think it's a great opportunity for us to get our name out there. We hosted 2 sip and paints, and we did paint even though we sipped. So that was a good time. Not only did it expose the library, but it also brought in some funds as part of our fundraising efforts, so that we were very successful there. We finished our survey and brought the results in. We're still kind of digesting them, but kind of the big things that are coming out of that is that the community is looking for some later hours during the week to be able to access the library, because everybody works. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people work. Better technology. This was kind of interesting. And the last one was more events at the library to bring people in. So what we have on hand right now is we are purchasing some tablets. We're going to be offering tablet classes to come in and learn how to use some newer technology. One of our computers did just kind of crash, so we are going to be looking at replacing that, getting some larger monitors, making it a little more up-to-date in our technology area. Again, in direct response to the survey. We're looking at doing a little more painting, both outside and inside, and then revamping and adding an adult reading area, because we don't have that today. We do have an education series, which is starting up. It's actually January 17th. I'm putting a plug in for it now. Come to the library, learn about powers of attorney, healthcare proxies, and starting the conversation with your family. So if you're not doing anything, 6 o'clock at the library, come on down. And a couple of things we've also concluded is the children's section. If you come to the library on Thursday, you'll see a great new children's section. Very bright, new carpeting, new area carpet, new furniture, toys, Lego tables. I mean, it looks really sharp, very bright and engaging. So, and then you'll also find that we have new lighting. We were able to get a grant for 75% of the lighting, so when you walk in there, it's not a cave. It's very, very bright, and so we were able to get that taken care of. And that was, they're supposed to be, it's LEDs, more energy efficient. Unfortunately, gas prices have gone up, so it didn't, it kind of offset the electric side of it, but overall we haven't seen much of an increase year over year. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for the increased funding last year. Certainly anything that you can find in the budget this year we would appreciate. Unfortunately, costs go up. The minimum wage did just go up to $11.10, and while our librarian isn't paid minimum wage, she's not much above it, right? And having a good librarian that is willing to work 21 hours a week and be as flexible as she has been is always something we want to hold on to. So, with that, I'll ask you if you have any questions of me, or would like to know anything
What was
about
the
the
date
library.
again on the discussion?
The 17th.
17th.
Of this month?
Yep.
Okay.
So just a couple nights from tonight, 3 nights from tonight. We have Heather Adair West coming in from the Rural Law Center is going to be in, and my wife will be presenting as well, and she's going to be talking about starting the conversation. Heather's going to go over the legal documents. So
That's great.
Interesting, yeah.
so love to have you.
Well, it sounds like everything you've done is awesome, so
Yeah.
nice kudos to,
It's a great board. We have a very active board. Allison has been on board with us. I know sometimes some of you have met with her and she's been a little resistant, but she's really, I think the excitement and the change that she sees helps her be, engage and be part of it. She's doing a great job for us, and we're just very, very fortunate that we've been able to accomplish so much with a relatively small group of people, active on the board. So
that's a lot.
Tell
for
the board
one year.
thank you from all of us. I'm
Yeah.
really impressed with what
Absolutely.
they're doing. It's wonderful.
I will
Excellent.
definitely share that.
Excellent.
What kind of technology updates are you looking for?
Well, our computers are rather old, right? So we're looking to upgrade those. We are, like I said, we're gonna get some tablets. We're gonna start with Androids because they tend to be less expensive, but we did want to get a couple of iPads. Again, when you're offering classes on how to work with technology, they're two very different operating systems. They would be for the library only. One thing I didn't mention that we're working on is actually a map of the trail, and you know that the library sits right on the trail, so you know stop in and see us. So we're actually putting that together.
Just so we don't duplicate the efforts, we're also doing that.
Okay.
Mary and I found that map.
Is it the Google map, the Google Earth map? Because Mary.
No,
No.
it's from the county.
County.
Oh, good. I will get Mary Freeman in touch with you because she's working on that.
Okay, and then we're going to also put that on our website.
Oh, good.
Because currently there's no way to see the map of the trail
Mm-hmm.
very easily, and people who want to review it on
Sure.
different sites need to have a website that they can
Absolutely.
list.
I've noticed a lot of people park up at the Kimpex.
Yeah,
We're trying to get them to maybe come down to the library. There's bathrooms there, you know, maybe there'd be water and they could stop in and pick up a book or whatever.
okay, that's good to know, we'll add that in.
So I'll let Mary Freeman know because she's the one that's been working on it.
We don't need to reduplicate.
Yeah, absolutely we don't.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay.
Juanita, do you recall the date for the county offering of computers? The county, every year the county
No,
offers.
they usually send us the flyer.
Oh, do they? Okay.
We got one a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, we're really looking for desktops. I mean, if they're doing laptops, that would be great.
Don't.
Well, they had.
I don't-
Yeah, whatever they have, we would certainly be interested.
Usually it's a number of desktops and then they offer 3 or 4 or 5 the smaller ones, laptops.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You'd have to load your information in, but.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll check on that.
Okay.
You should check with the border too, because they get rid of computers that aren't that old regularly.
I know ours are old. They've been
Yours
there.
are old.
And we have monitors that are about this big, so.
Well, they have, the county has the monitors and the.
Nice. Okay.
We'll check on that.
All right, well, thank you very much. All right, there you go. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Paul.
Any
Paul.
discussion, any questions for Paul?
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You wanna stay?
Oh, I'd love to. I think I'm gonna go paint. What fun, right?
I'd stay.
Sip and pay?
Hey, we'll move right along. Greetings and welcome to the first village board meeting of 2019. I, for one, believe that the new year will be a very good year for this little village. There are major projects that will be completed this year. The water project completion, fingers crossed. New blowers at the wastewater plant. Hopefully, we will be able to replace water mains in the village where most of our water repairs have taken place, resulting in boil water orders. Sidewalk repair, replacement, paving of some village streets. The new electric vehicle charging station will soon be up and available to all users. And many other overdue projects that will keep our DPW crew busy and hopefully able to catch up on maintenance and repair issues. All of this will be dictated by good weather, good timing, and good support from the village community. I have great faith in our ability to get many projects completed over the next 12 months and move on to the future with a new sense of accomplishment. And to quote a local philosopher, it is what it is. I get that in every time. I want to get that in every time. Somewhere, someone get that in. In normal times, I would refrain from commenting on what is, for various reasons, a private business agreement between two parties. As I'm sure you realize at this time, hometown cable is no longer being carried on local cable channel 24. As I'm sure you also know, that there is little or no local television coverage of the North Country communities unless you are affected directly by an event in Bradford, Vermont, or in Bradford, New Hampshire for that matter. Local happenings matter, especially to those in the hometown cable viewing area, which encompasses the 6 northernmost communities in New York State and beyond, as many offerings are watched also by our neighbors in Canada. Over the past 3 decades, we have been able to watch local sporting events, local church activities, local government meetings, local community activities, local offerings of past events and people who have related to the historical aspects of where we live, and the thousands of other offerings the Hometown Cable has in its extensive library of local events. As a former high school coach, village mayor, and community member, I see the importance of being able to have this resource available at the click of the remote to view recent and past events here in the village and beyond. I ask that you support the reinstatement of Hometown Cable to local programming, as I am sure a fair and equitable agreement can be worked out by the involved parties to make this a reality. Call your local Charter, Spectrum, Time Warner office and express your displeasure over not having Channel 24 included in your cable package. Call your local political representatives, because they too have a stake in this, and express your concerns that local coverage in this situation, as many of the local events they participate in, is recorded and shown at a later date for those who could not be at the actual event. North Country events matter, especially to those of us who reside here. Again, as I stated in the beginning, normally I would not be comfortable recommending on such matters, but I see the real community value in having Hometown Cable available to all that feel community events are important. 2019 will be a busy year with many changes that I hope will be very positive in all aspects of our community life, and a year that we will all prosper and enjoy having our small, special community. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. Haven't heard that one in a while, have you? Trustee Champlain.
Okay,
Excuse me.
I don't have much of a report. Tom and I are
Thank
going to tag team pretty much on the meeting that we had with the two town board members, last week. It was a very good meeting. It was a very amicable meeting. We walked away with, looking forward to meeting with you again in a couple of weeks. I think that this whole issue can be resolved. It has to be resolved. I mean, I don't feel that, going to arbitration, after sitting and looking at these numbers closely and crunching them and realizing when you get to a certain portion on there that things don't make sense, through no fault of the village or the town, through the fault of our engineering firm that we had. So we started good conversation, and we both look forward to this continuing. One of the board members sent us some information. Unfortunately, he had our email address wrong, so I literally was trying to eat dinner and print out papers as we were getting ready to come here. That's why we were a little late. So we really haven't had a chance to review some new papers that,
Not in
Rick sent to
detail,
us.
but it's got just a couple of changes.
Okay, so with that, when Tom gets to his report, we can tag team on it.
We'll look forward to that. Okay, do you mind?
Yeah, why don't you go to Tom now, that'll be
Long-term
not just
discussion, right? It's like Kim said, first I met, with Rick as planned, and we both agreed to look at the data only and try to digest exactly what was owed in regards to the loan. So we did that. When we set up a new meeting, and we set ground rules on our meeting, limit the time, and our objective, and then we chose our other members, and he chose Kim, I chose Jason. At the last meeting, the four of us met, we went over what we'd all been looking at. Kim and I had crunched numbers, I told you about that a week or so ago. Trying to figure it out. Had you ever looked at the distribution that the engineer put out?
Is it the benefit ratio sheet, Tom?
Yes, it is. It's the, you know, project depth distribution. It shows the benefit ratios based on benefit factors of each section of the, project.
I
And there's
remember
al-
this vaguely.
Yeah, and there's also a document there that breaks down these numbers. In other words, water supply and treatment, at roughly $250,000, is broken down in another document. So I went over all that. I did the manual math, you know, on a calculator, checking these numbers based on these EDU units. And these percentages, you know, are all correct, these portion percentages. And then when you get to the bottom, I mean, do you guys want a copy of this? I know you've looked at it.
Oh, I have it memorized, so you
Okay.
can go ahead.
When you get to the bottom at the total debt distribution, it comes up at 32.7% for the village and 67.3, so essentially,
After the $2 million one.
no, that's
The step
before.
up,
That's before, that's just
I thought-
total, that's just benefit. So that's benefit in the total project, it really has nothing to do with the grant.
with the hardness removal.
Right. Yeah, it's just total,
And then the grants come in after.
the grants come in after, but that would have nothing to do to affect those portions. Because that's money that comes off that you're not paying back that 13 million, you're paying back 10 or 11.
Exactly.
Okay.
that's because when they.
So then when you get down to this
when it's
line,
applied, it changes the
and he
percents.
plugs in his glorious 75-25, there's no math involved with that. They're
Okay,
just
I did it
plugging
and it
numbers.
did, so we'll have to look at it again.
We'll get that explanation when we talk to,
Yeah, I'd like to have it before the 10th, so I have more information to share with the group,
Mhm.
because as of right now, where we're at, it looks like we owe the 32.7, so essentially 33%. Now, what I did was, in my mind, if we were to do that, it needs to be reevaluated as the EDUs change.
Mhm.
And I actually did that works, you can see that. Because currently they're at, I made a mistake though, this is at 441. When Rick sent me the document, it's actually 440.1, so it's slightly different. But if you look, this is the same thing, just blown up. I recalculated, I didn't have time to do another spreadsheet, create one. So it's just all handwritten. But if you look how it changes the total number of EDUs, it does lower the percentage of our portion. Even 36 EDUs makes a difference. Yeah, Kim hasn't seen it either. And it
Have we
looks-
reevaluated our EDUs?
I don't believe ours have changed, have they?
Well, we get new people coming in, we get some houses put back into use. I didn't know, I just,
We got a few new homes.
yeah, I would
And
think
then
our
water being used
EDUs
and-
could possibly change as
So
well.
ours went up then, not down.
we can check on that. The
So we
total
would-
number of
Well,
meters.
we're probably close. It all
I mean, it
depends.
may be the same, but it's just
Yeah,
a
some houses
question of
burned
when we
too,
looked at
so-
ours.
No, I think Greg and I were under the assumption it hasn't changed, there's
Maybe
no
it hasn't,
change, but,
maybe it hasn't, I don't know.
If it has, it's not by much.
right. So as you can see, it does make some difference, it does change the numbers, and it changes the overall percentage on page 2 if you go to the bottom. It lowers the total down to 31.69. Rounded. Cause I don't think even Rick thought 40, it's not even 40, it's 30. This is based off 37, it's actually, they have gained 36 EDUs. He thought it would be very minimal, it's not, it makes a difference.
Yeah,
That's why I had
Is this the number that they're working with now, 441?
440.1, no, I either misunderstood him or he gave me information the other night, I swear he said 441.
Okay, well, it's not gonna make a whole lot of difference there.
No, the one shouldn't affect us by
Oh.
very much.
Well, if you go back to that original sheet, that was all figured on 404 EDUs.
Right, that's why I did this. That's why I crossed out the 404, changed the total, recalculated the percentages across the board.
Mhm.
That's why I spent some time today just doing this. I wanted to see how it affected the overall percentage. If we're gonna base our repayment on that percentage, that's why I felt it needs to be looked at a regular basis. The problem they had with that, and it's not that they personally had a problem, but he said he doubted he could negotiate that with the board, was what you guys have seen his presentation of the, help me out, the rolling averages, is that what it's called, or rolling,
Oh, when the 1% per year,
yeah.
that idea?
Yeah, there's a name for this map, I can't think of it. Yeah, pass those down.
Rolling scale.
Rolling scale, is it? I think so, huh? Sliding scale.
Yes,
Sliding scale. Jeez, I'm trying to remember now. So this is based off a sliding scale. Now, so I see it two ways now. I agree, we need to find out why he was trying to sell us those other 75/25s, which I don't see any data to show for it. That's one problem. If we were to convince them to reevaluate this constantly, it would make it difficult to follow this plan. This plan is nice because it doesn't, how do I wanna put this? It doesn't jump right to 32%, let's say, immediately. It gradually goes up and then flattens out. And if you look at the bottom, overall it's 33.17%. I told him we'd have to get that down to 30. He said he could change the number slightly and get it down to the 32.
Well,
But he didn't do that in this is a new document he just sent us, but what he did put in was he added at the top, the town EDU revenue. They charge $452 per EDU. So they earn $198,925.20 annually towards their debt.
But didn't he come up with that 75/25 based off of not per se our EDUs, but the benefits that the village would reap from this project?
If I need to know if there was math that.
Because we
that
already
brought that.
had a water system.
in terms of the money that
But
was spent for
that's what
infrastructure.
that's what this factor is doing though. And I don't know how he calculated that factor amount, like for example, on the water meters, it makes sense, we have 647, they had 404, so it makes sense, our portion was larger. We had more meters. So that's an example of how, to me, these do make sense. The village distribution improvements, when you go to the page to see exactly what that was, it was all put in to the village. Therefore, he put that at 100%, 0 to the town. When you go to the tanks, or water storage, it's 56% to 45%. Based on we're using a smaller portion of the tanks because it's feeding that distribution. So he gave us a smaller factor, even though we have more users, it's based on a 0.5 instead of a 1, which offset the portion. It kinda looks like he did that here. If he did it anywhere to come up with these numbers, I need to see it.
Wait, what, okay, I followed you until that last statement, say that again.
If he did this same exercise anywhere else to figure out the benefit factor to come up with a 75/25, he needs to provide that.
So it seems to me that the question that we have to get the answer to is why a $2 million grant changed the percents. If you go to page 3, I see where you have
Yeah.
the 3267 or the new 3169.
Mhm.
But then when you put in a grant of $2 million, it changes the percents.
And
So
I don't think it's a factor either, it's just,
Well, I think it is a factor in how they, at least on paper, how they assigned that grant money to reduce parts of it. And that's what he has to explain to us. Maybe we won't accept it, but that's where the change happened. The
So-
grant affected it somehow.
Now, have you pulled Matt into the conversation, because when we saw him at
I
whatever it
have.
was, he said that he would
I
meet,
have called him,
okay,
and he's going to call us back, and he is willing to have a conference type discussion with us.
okay.
Or, I don't think we wanna wait until towards the end of February, but that's when he's free and easy to talk to,
Oh, right, cause he gets off that.
as his purgatory
Yes.
is done.
Okay,
So,
I think
you can't meet with him until the end of February?
Well, he can call us, we can have a phone conversation.
We'll make sure that
Technically, we are not supposed to ask him questions about this project until after towards the end of February. Because of the restrictions he has when he left Premium Car. But he's willing to talk about,
I don't know how we're supposed to move forward until then we get concrete answers from him as to how he came up with these figures.
right,
Because we can sit and meet with the town till we're purple, but until he can tell us exactly, I wanna see how he got that, I wanna see it in black and white how he got that, because I sat there with a calculator and went over those figures, and up until you get to the bottom portion of that page, you can make it make sense. And then you get to the bottom and it doesn't.
I'd love to see the formulas or spreadsheet, I think those are just plugged in with no formulas.
Exactly.
They're just plugged in.
well, I think another factor here is, and I'm trying to remember when this was it before or was it after that extra $500,000 was added to this?
I don't think that's in this.
I don't see it anywhere in here.
Well, I look at, where you got total debt distribution with hardness removal, 13.42, and then you go to $2 million grant, 11.420, and I believe we're paying back 10 point something,
Yeah, 10, I got it here somewhere.
10.9 or something like that, so that maybe that's where that $500,000 is. And maybe that's where those percentages change with that $500,000 addition.
Over here, 10,859,000.
So 10.8,
Mm-hmm.
so you take away the 500,000 for debt reduction from 11.4, you end up pretty close to 11, or 10.8 something.
Mm-hmm. But I think the bottom line is proving what we owe. Because the current agreement that they're holding us to states it's based off EDUs,
correct.
correct?
Mhm.
So if it's based off EDUs, I was great with that, but only based off calculating the EDUs and the benefit factor.
But that was never a consideration in
No.
debt repayment
Absolutely it wasn't.
until EFC got involved, and that was a policy change on their part.
Mm-hmm.
The EDU situation had not changed,
No, I hadn't.
but EDU figure and how much money was collected was not part of the debt repayment program. They signed the IMA in January of 2575. It was only after EFC got involved with their policy statement saying that it had to look like, because we used the majority of the water, that we were gonna pay a majority of the debt. The understanding was that it was not going to happen that way, because
But the problem,
realistically, we couldn't charge enough money to make up that, because we weren't selling the sale of water.
Right.
So we would have to make that $100,000 difference up by adjusting the rate changes for
which 100,000 you're referring to?
the difference between the 60-40 percentile.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm not basing it off of 60/40.
Yeah,
That's why I'm using the benefit factor, otherwise, because that's what started this whole thing. When you
Yeah.
read the IMA, immediately, I'm sure Brian will, that's a 60/40 difference. That's what they need to be paying.
well.
That's why I crunched into that, dove into that page, trying to figure out what it was about,
Mhm.
and they agreed. That's what it looks like. It looks like 32%, not 40, that's fine. That's actually what Rick did when he presented this to you, is he based it off that
I've
page.
never seen that sheet right there.
And he told me that he'd showed you this.
I've never seen
Did he
that.
just tell you about
He
it?
talked about
He
it.
talked about increasing,
Okay.
there were no numbers there, and
Okay.
I,
Well, this was based off the same thing. He had did the same thing. He had looked at that debt distribution sheet,
Wow.
and he based it off the 33%. That's how he ended up with this.
well,
So I remember because we were, it's time for signatures, right, and we had this conversation, and
mhm.
how are we gonna sell it to the people as we're going around getting
Oh,
signatures?
We all remember it.
And it was very clear on this distribution, and then in throw this water softener, so it could be, we would reap a little bit more benefit from this project by doing this. Because we're all very hesitant on that amount of money.
Oh, yeah, I remember it the same way.
Because there was never the sale of water that would have offset that difference in price.
No,
So the only way you're gonna make that adjustment is by making adjustments on the rate of water that you're selling them now,
Mhm.
rather than,
Well,
you know.
I think it needs,
I-
if we end up there, you have to increase a little bit in the village as well. You can't put it all on one side, because
Well, it's going to,
They-
the
we
village's share will
we own
increase every year.
30%, so we need to base it off that percentage.
Well, I don't know that I agree with the 30%, and I don't agree with this.
well, don't forget,
that's-
their system would not be in effect at all without our existing system.
We have the, we had the
We had the whole
infrastructure.
infrastructure, so that's how they were selling it, that we had the infrastructure already.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why our portion would be lower. We paid off the debt for that whole thing.
Well, I guess the bottom line is, and I'm just gonna be the way I always am, extremely blunt. We should not have done a new IMA. We should not have,
But we agreed not to look back like that either,
I agree,
because
But-
law should not have.
but right now, that is exactly what we're doing, we're going backwards instead of looking at this the way things are presented now and trying to come to a resolution. So we can only go in one direction. We're either gonna look for resolution and go forward and try to come to an amicable agreement, because let's face it, we're stuck with each other for 30 years, like it or not. So
That is true.
we either go forward and come to a resolution that hopefully this board and any other board going forward can live with, or your other option is arbitration, and
Unless Matt can provide some real good data to support that 75-25, arbitration is gonna go right where this is going.
I
know it
agree.
is, that they're gonna look at the same numbers and the same figures and the same documents. I can't see how they could come up with a different approach, different answer, different solution, different result.
Well,
I agree with you. I just want him to explain that change. Because I understand everything else. I just wanna understand how that happened. And I think it's gonna be a compromise. It has to be a compromise.
On both sides.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, I think this does represent a compromise.
not at 35%.
It's not 35%, Greg, it's
It goes-
33.
No, this goes up to
That
35.
goes up
No,
to
no,
35.
the overall is 33. The reason you see that
Oh,
go
I
to
see what
35
you mean.
in
Yeah,
flatten
the
is because
overall, when you average it.
we're 2 years in arrears.
Yeah.
If arbitration said, no, you should have been paying 33%, then we owe another $40,000.
Well, we paid 40% last year.
That's true, I forgot about that. Let's
Yeah,
say we paid
so we're not
25
really
last
in
year.
arrears.
Some, let's be,
And as the town has admitted,
Okay.
so are they.
Yeah, and this team you know, the town portion of the team agrees that needs to be paid, they need to start making payments, so that we're working on that.
On the O and M?
We're gonna dive into that probably at the 21st meeting. Right now, we're trying to come up with something for the boards on this, because I think the town wants to know if we're able to solve this or not, because I think somebody's pushing for arbitration, that's the feeling I'm getting.
He's always gonna push for arbitration.
But don't forget, that's gonna be a board decision, and
So,
if the board agrees that that's the way they're going, I don't think we're gonna fare very well.
no, it's just gonna cost us money, it's all it costs.
I have my own thoughts, but that's,
Well, I thank both of you for doing this,
yes, thank
I
you.
really do.
Well, and we want to, the conversation, the meeting that we had was very good, and I'd like it to keep going that way. And it's, they're, you know, Jason is learning, Rick is a numbers guy, and as we sat and went through this, it was very calm, it was good.
Yeah,
So,
good.
but I don't think that, I had a very different opinion of this until I started diving into it.
And then trying to come up with a way to support that 75-25, and I can't find it.
I can't either.
Well, we'll have our discussion with Mr. Cooper, and maybe he can clear some of this stuff up.
Yeah, I hope he can get to us before the 10th, because,
I think we will. I gave him today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, because I thought your meeting was on Thursday, 17th.
oh,
We were trying to get a meeting in this week, but due to scheduling, we weren't able to. In that discussion with Mr. Cooper, I am not comfortable with just an explanation.
yeah. I need some
I want
spreadsheets.
something in writing with numbers that actually come out and make sense.
You won't be able to provide that till the end.
Right.
Somebody can take notes, and then when he's done whatever contractual obligation he has,
No, basically,
I want something in writing that
basically,
shows
he
how he
has to,
came to that.
if that's what we're hoping to achieve, he needs to provide something that's worthy of going to arbitration with.
Because right now, looking at what we've looked at,
And there's no meeting recorded when Matt said all this stuff?
When he said it, yeah, but you remember, I remember him saying, no, you're still gonna pay based off the original 75-25 agreement of the other IMA. You're just gonna have to massage the numbers
To make up the difference.
to make up the difference.
Right, and so was that a meeting where everybody was in the room, and is that on tape?
We couldn't find it.
No, Calvin, remember Calvin?
He didn't-
Yeah,
Calvin didn't
Calvin
have it.
didn't have it.
yeah.
Well, he went,
But, I mean, he
our
almost,
meeting didn't take.
he almost
you know.
admitted right there, you're gonna charge what you need to charge to make up the difference. He's already saying you're gonna pay more than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point. It's like, I think it was just, I don't know why it's there. It was there because that's how he sold the original project to us.
The first IMA was 75-25.
But it wouldn't fly that way.
Right.
And everybody was happy with that.
I made these copies, I'm gonna share them if you wanna see it, but this is the debt repayment. And this is what we have paid. I forgot we did 40 though, so that one's wrong. 2018 is incorrect. It needs to be changed. And it just shows in total what it would be if we were paying 31. This is there.
This. It's, whole thing.
And he did put a column in here in his spreadsheet that shows the bond balance going down. But the way he's got this,
So,
the reason it goes up to 35
down at
in these
this
calculations, then it flats out, as you can see.
point,
These
it's
are all just
clear.
increases of the
Mhm.
bond
It's
itself.
this point.
It's
That's the
to
issue, right?
pay,
Okay, I wanna
make
make
up
sure I
that
ask the right questions.
difference in the first few years,
So,
because it's under.
sorry, I don't know, I
That's
know
how
I
it
shouldn't
ends up
break
being
into a bunch of different.
33.
We'll talk, okay.
Do you have
So-
that one, or who did that?
Okay, I would need some time to digest this stuff, so.
This one can be a copy.
So I had asked,
Yeah, I think I do have copies of it, don't I?
So one of the things that I asked that
Go through it
Rick had
myself.
sent to us was this page that at the top has town EDU revenue, EDU per unit, and 198,000. I had asked that he put the bond balance in there so that every year we can see the dollar amounts going down. I just felt that, it would give a better picture that we would know it's going down and what's left on it. So
You
that
have a
is
copy
one of the,
IMA page?
That's
one
a
of
good
the
point.
pages that was, cause he didn't originally have this.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought it
I
was
don't
for,
have, I have one.
for
Okay, one copy.
visual,
So that's,
I wanna see that we
Yeah.
own more than, one water meter.
yeah, this is the one, so it's this one, it goes on to the next page. So this is section 8, this is the part
Okay,
saying what we owe. What we use,
So-
and I just threw this in as a way of changing the wording,
Okay.
as a starting point. It's just a starting point, don't look at it as, oh my god, and I'm not a lawyer, I just like doing time to So based on, just to recap this, based on, if we can meet with Matt and get more information, what they're looking for, what the other half of the team is looking to hear before they go to their board meeting, is kind of where we stand. Are we digging our heels in, or are we open-minded to be looking at, okay, we're gonna pay what we owe, we just gotta figure out what it is.
Yeah.
I think that's like,
Fair.
is that a fair way to put it?
who's digging whose heels in?
Well, no, that's what they want, I think that's what the town board wants to know, is are we moving forward? Are we still digging our heels in and saying, no, we're not even gonna consider anything? Or are we, like the rest of, do you guys agree that we need to figure out what we owe and pay what we owe? We just don't know what it is yet, so we need to work on this with Matt.
Need more information before I
Well,
would be comfortable in even making any kind of statement on it.
Yeah, I think we need to have a conversation with Mr. Cooper and see why those figures
This
became
is where
those
we got in
figures.
trouble, so.
And I agree with you, that at the end of this, we need to find out what we owe.
Yeah, we need to pay our portion. That's why, I guess
I guess I agree with you, as long as our portion does not include any bit of the town debt.
right.
I that's why I backed away, because I'm not so nice as you two.
It's early,
Yeah, really.
it's early, Greg.
Okay,
My
Trustee
turn?
McFetrich.
Well, there are a few upcoming events. Wednesday this week, the 16th, at 6:30 is the first sewing class at the meeting house. And I think last month, I also mentioned that Mark Berry is doing an author presentation on January 26th at 6:30 on his new book. And we're continuing our series of kids cooking classes. I think we've had 4 so far. February 3rd, which is a Sunday, I think, at 11 a.m. And this one is on healthy snacks. Oh, yeah, that's right. I didn't even think of that. And I just wanna say thanks to Mike and the guys for working on that ice rink. It's looking pretty good, and I know you have to struggle with the weather, being a ice rink person myself. So thanks, and I might be the first person out there when you tell me it's okay.
Well, it looks gorgeous.
I know, I noticed it
We're
tonight.
gonna flood it in the morning,
Okay,
so hopefully that'll take care of most of the.
If it warms up a little bit, it might smooth out
Wednesday, get snow on it.
and freeze, it's gonna get cold again
Well, it's
day
not gonna
after
get
tomorrow.
warm enough where it's a problem.
No, by tomorrow, we're gonna flood it in the morning, and then it should hopefully be smooth enough, but
in the afternoon maybe?
should be
Okay.
okay.
All right, so thank you, it's looking good. That's all I have.
Okay, Amy?
So did we officially announce the winners at a board meeting?
Yes, please.
That's what I thought. Oh, we did officially announce it or
No, we do.
Well, they haven't
We have not
announced.
yet.
Oh, they were
Not
announced
yet.
at the meeting?
They have not been announced yet, I thought.
I
No,
thought
Okay.
they were announced,
they were announced last meeting.
No,
not at the last meeting.
No, we have
You
them
told me the
on.
names and
Yes.
I.
Posted it.
I
You
posted it.
posted it, okay.
Officially.
So, the official winners of
There
the
we go, okay.
2018 holiday contest was Gary and Jan Bulris of 114th South Street, and Peter and Helen Racine of 703 Prospect, and Carrie Bean, 19 Moore Street. So, participation was down this year, obviously because of the snow coming so early for those who decorate higher up on their home and hadn't been well in advance of doing things. It did not happen. But those who decorated, it was absolutely beautiful, and it added to, you know, the beauty of the village. Again, Prospect Street really kicks the backside of the village as a whole for the most participants, which is really cool to see. And we had a new street, and I'm sorry I don't have that with me, that for the first time had, the East Street. For the first time had, in a long time, they used to be really good decorators, two of them. But pretty much almost everyone on that street, which is only a few people, it had a decoration, so that was cool to see. So the Stewart grant is due, and I had asked y'all for ideas for it, and thank you, Janet, for getting back to me. So I think I have settled on stencils for the village park. They even can be done on our new sidewalks when they get laid, because you just have the stencils and then you can, you know, paint them in. And the stencils are all different kinds of activities, so there's a whole variety of games, and I'm negotiating with the company right now because they have a sale going on to the end of the month at 25 off, and I explained that we work and operate off of grants to make this stuff happen, but the grants wouldn't be awarded till March. Could they honor the 25 discount if I give them the ballpark of what I'm writing for? So I'm waiting for an answer on that from them. So they wanted more of a commitment, which I get, but not a commitment that I have to buy if I don't get the grant. It's just that then they can say, oh yeah, they said I could have the 25%. Because that way we could get two kinds of stencils or a bigger kind of stencil kit. So the other piece, my question to you is, because these stencils would be really awesome if we had like 4 of these games under our pavilion. If we were to pour a cement foundation, if I were to get a grant for that, we can do that because if we flooded, the water still flows over. But I kind of wanted feedback, what your thoughts on it. So these stencils are big and bright, and they're absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And it's non-slip paint that you use, and you can do different things from like shuffleboards, which we could do on the basketball. But again, we don't want to do that if we're going to be moving the basketball court. So I don't know where we're at with any of that component as far as that, and yet our pavilion won't be moving. Right, the pavilion is where, so I was thinking if we poured a cement foundation, we could do some of those games underneath there, and they have fitness things too, so like you go and you do different kinds of balancing and yoga poses, you know, and what I was thinking on some of the newer sidewalks that we're doing, they had this great alphabet snake puzzle, and so if you painted the alphabet and the kids practiced the alphabet on the way to the park, so you know, all snakes lead into the park kind of deal. I don't know. I just, when I looked at it, I thought that was great and exciting and something that really would pull the focus down. Even we could use the great walking path, you know, to do the alphabet towards the park. So it's really cool.
I hate to throw a monkey wrench in your plans.
Yeah.
But you can't pour a cement floor in that park.
Because of?
Absorption. That's why we couldn't put.
Yeah.
That's why we couldn't put blacktop down further. We had when we put the skating rink and the basketball court in, that had already been blacktopped before. That was why we were allowed to put the blacktop there. But anywhere else, it affects absorption, and we were not allowed to do that.
Okay, so so how are we planning to move that then, if we can't?
Because there's a new substance that's considered
It's a
permeable.
porous,
It's a
Okay.
permeable substance that you can pave with in these kinds of situations. Probably very expensive, but that's what they're recommending for the revitalization areas.
Okay,
I don't know if it would maintain what you wanna do, you know, to put that,
oh,
put that permeable surface.
yeah, it could go on any of the outdoor surfaces, the hard surfaces,
But I
it's just a
mean,
semi-smooth surface.
underneath the building, underneath the pavilion,
Mhm.
you know, the building that's there. It's
I don't
something
know,
to look at.
I'd have to look at what that is, okay, so I had forgotten that piece, that I thought that you could do the cement foundation, but we opted not to do that.
Well, that and fences, you can't put either of those in that area. But
When the basketball court gets moved, and that has that new, substance on it, you wouldn't be looking at putting stencils on that.
Well, you can do like a stencil of your basketball court outline, and then, we had talked about, before, we've talked about pickleball quite often. And then if we get an update on the fencing that we're renting down there, if we can purchase that and own it, then we could use
I
the
don't
fencing
think
for
they'll sell that, will
pickleball.
they?
Did we get answers on that?
Yeah.
I was waiting for y'all on
What's
that.
that?
Did we-
The
I mean,
fencing.
sure-
Fencing, did you get answers?
No, they won't sell it.
They won't.
No.
So what are they gonna do with the rusted old fence? No one's gonna rent that.
We're
It's already
renting-
rusty.
We're renting it.
No. When all said and done,
They'll probably refurbish it or they'll recycle it.
They'll keep renting it for tearing down buildings like Wyeth and all that, they'll,
Keep running it.
yeah,
Anyway.
basically.
so, anyway, I know that pickleball is a big and up and coming, especially based on our population in the village.
Yeah.
Would be a huge benefit for us to do that. So I didn't find a pickleball stencil, but I don't think that would be that difficult to design, that idea, anyway.
Is that just
Um,
striping though? Kinda like a basketball court?
Yeah,
Similar to it, yeah.
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 Russ's Point put it in,
Okay,
striping.
so, I don't know, thoughts? I still have half the month.
I still think the stencils
Right.
are a great idea.
Okay.
A lot of communities are recommending, little pocket play areas in neighborhoods. Particularly if children can't go to the park, but they wanna play in their neighborhood. So you take Cedar Street, for example, a lot of kids there. If you do the stencil on the sidewalk there, it just encourages more
Sure.
activity, as you know. Your point about the beginning of the fitness trail on Elm Street. I like the ones that have the maps of the United States.
Yeah, that was cool too, I like
Yeah,
that.
I read one project where the Girl Scouts are the ones that, with help, they're the ones that painted it.
Mhm.
And I did talk to Nikki Sass, and she said they would be interested in that if we were ever to do that. I mean, they need help, but
Then it must need maintaining too, right? In this-
it doesn't
in this-
seem like there's much maintenance.
Yeah, it didn't, but I hadn't
It is
gotten
Wait
up.
till the sidewalk machine goes through,
Yeah, in this climate, it's gonna have to be redone every year.
probably.
Well, probably has to be touched up, I don't know. They're not
We'll see.
super expensive, I mean.
Let's see what it gives us.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we can do, I mean, and go from there, but, I do wanna get the idea, because this is a time for grant writing, and when I am able to block out a day or two, with taking some vacation days to write some of these grants, cause it takes a lot of time. So, I really wanna have a picture of what direction we wanna go and where we're looking to enhance as I come up with these, so that, we can move forward
Well, I think we
seamlessly.
all agreed to keep going towards, stuff in the playground and the parks.
Right, but we don't wanna also do the enhancements and then we're gonna move things, so I really want a better understanding of where we're at with the revitalization, or do we take, as far as the revitalization, this is a priority and this is where you want me writing grants to make that happen. That's what I want, I want a list of what our priorities are, so that the grants can be tailored to that, because grants are pretty specific, it's, they want exactly what you're gonna be doing with it. I can write a lot of vague ones, that, well, if we get this, and we get this from so-and-so, and we get this from so-and-so, then we're gonna do this. You know, if I could do an if, but if not grant, it would be great, because that's really the reality of the picture. If I'm able to get the money from, you know, all three sources, then this is what we're gonna do, but if only one source gives me the grant, then this is all we can do. So it's better if we have it in increments and I go after, you know, like we have with the kayak launch. I think that's critical, because nobody else has that. And that would put us on the map. And I would almost want to, you know, keep pushing for grants for that, but if they're gonna make a decision in March, but then we might lose out on other options. And then summer's here and gone again, and we're a year older, and it's even harder to get in the kayak. So,
Let's focus on the kayak launch and whatever else. I think that's a good idea with the stencils.
I think it'd be fun, because it kinda just pulls everybody down to the center and what
And
else is
it's
offered.
new, we don't
Right.
have that around here, the other
Mhm.
little communities don't have that.
Right,
That's, of course, I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
Thank you. Report from clerk treasurer, please.
Everyone has their December expense and revenue reports. I think we're doing very good.
Any questions on that? Comments? Okay. Motion to do the warrant.
No, wait a minute, we have a water and sewer billing. Our water was $64,245.77. And sewer was $66,786.03.
That's about par for what we've had.
No, actually, Janet and I were talking about the other day, water and sewer are down, one's down about 12,000, the other's down about 15,000. But, we've come to the conclusion that it has to do with the border billing,
Yeah.
which has been decreased.
Yes. Okay. Got some add-ons for the warrant?
And we had one transfer. Transfer to F8310.4, $5,000, that's water administration, from F8389.4, other water expense, $5,000. Due to all our extra testing we have to do, we had to do, wet testing this month, which is $2,100.
What's
Plus-
wet testing?
For the new water plant, the nano filtration.
You gotta test the outgoing water, it goes to see how many percentage of the fathead minnows die. It's a weight, because it's a waste stream, we have to do samples, which are expensive.
How often do we have to do that?
We do it twice,
Twice, yeah.
I think we already did it twice. So, and I think that's what it is, and I don't remember if once or twice a year we have to do that.
So it's 2,100 per test.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then we also did water
We did
and.
Copper and lead
copper.
too, we had 20 samples of copper and lead to do.
That was a little over $800 for that.
That's the Endine, that was $3,215.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I don't wanna take up time now doing it, but after the meeting, I need you to get me some data to bring to our meeting on the 21st
Okay.
in regards to the O&M.
Yeah, need a motion to approve the warrant.
We have additional invoices of $842.01 for a total warrant of $27,523.40.
You need to approve the transfer first.
Oh, yes, gotta do the transfer first, sorry.
Make a motion to move 5,000 from 8310.4 to 8389.4.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley,
Aye.
trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley,
Aye.
trustee Garrett,
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. Okay, need a motion to approve the warrant.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
So,
Questions?
yeah, I do. So let's go back to the wet test thing and this being twice a year component. So is this, is this,
Ongoing,
I get it.
no, you ask me.
I'm spitting out my thought process here. It's a Monday, come on! So is this expense incorporated into the cost of the water in this whole piece for them to get an understanding of these new systems and how much it's really costing to have these that weren't projected?
Part of the raw data that we're
That's
asking
part of the
for.
raw data I'm looking for.
Yeah.
We want everything from the last quarter, so hopefully that was in the last quarter. If not, maybe we need to go back.
And the chemicals that are now higher
This is
in-
all information
Yeah.
that we're
This
asking
team wants
for.
to crunch. We want it,
Yes, okay.
in regards to O&M, they agree that they owe it and everything, and Rick is adamant that town needs to start making payments, but anyways, regardless,
We just did that test.
yeah.
Right,
But when was the
so,
last one done?
I'd have to
Remember.
look back.
I'm
But
hoping it was in the
I'm gonna say-
quarter we
We've,
were looking
we've
at.
been going for a year here, so we should have a pretty good idea of what.
Maybe first 6
You
months.
know.
we did that.
Mhm.
Okay, so Greg and I went through and got actual numbers.
Mhm.
But your point is well taken, because I don't think, I'm not sure that we put in
All of the
all of the
testing, no.
testing, which will increase it.
But
But
we didn't even figure it into our budget, so,
But we do have good numbers, because we went from October 17 to October 18 at the time, that's what we
Okay.
had, and right from the books, so we had
so
good
do you
numbers.
have those numbers?
Yeah, we have them there somewhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
We showed them to the town.
That plant was
Yeah.
the new plant was in operation that whole period?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been over a year.
yeah, and we did
October,
take,
October?
Mhm.
and we did
October
take
or
solid
November.
numbers.
Okay.
But it needs to be looked at again because of some of these tests.
Mhm.
Okay.
But it came out to be, the percentage was right on in terms of the amount owed.
It was 29 something, 29.
It came out to be about 30,000 was the.
Yeah, I've got that copy in there.
On my handwritten, the handwritten one,
Oh, yeah.
right, that's
Yeah,
it,
but Rick and I wanna dive into the raw data as well
okay,
and have a look at it.
As well as me coming into it now and Jason coming into it, all four of us need to be looking at the same
Right.
information, so. Because it doesn't do me any good to say, you know, here, we already gave that to them and they've looked at it, that doesn't do anything for me or Jason because we have nothing to look at. So, and I think it's good for us to all be looking at the same piece of paper with the same exact
Mhm.
information on it, so.
Okay.
But that's one of the things that we talked about at our last meeting.
Yeah, I made a note, I gotta see you after the meeting and I don't wanna.
So I guess the other question too is the Prescott, clamp that was 587, is that just from another water break and more clamps? Is that one single clamp
That's
or
probably,
multiple clamps?
that's probably two.
Okay,
Probably used, we had
alright, and then we
45,
had
six.
the blower upgrade component, that was the 2400. And then, the
Oh,
peak motor
press.
pump repair, that was for the repair of the
which
one
one,
blower,
4100?
4100,
That's for the, they rebuilt the pump for the Main Street lift station.
the Main Street lift station, okay.
That bill for 400 and something, Amy, is for
Big
2
tickets.
plants.
Two, thank you.
The other, I'll just add in there.
Those were all my questions. I figured it was all that, but.
The other thing that needs to be looked at is the replacement filters and stuff, the cost of the replacement filters needs to be factored in. And what is the life expectancy, does it go?
Don't even know, they're supposed to be coming at some point, we gotta do is clean in place. Try to get them here to do that.
Well, those small filters have to be changed every 10 or 12 weeks.
Yes, those
That's
I
about-
had bought, I
We
had bought,
purchased enough for a
I
year.
hadn't purchased enough for a year when I bought them originally.
Yeah.
So that's all information we need as well.
Yeah.
Just
Cause I bought that many, and we were gonna need them to get the price cheaper.
What is it, the expensive, what are the sand
No,
filtration portions?
No, the
nano,
the
The
nano
nano,
filters.
those are gonna be expensive.
Yeah, so, you
But I
know
don't
the
know
cost of them, and,
I don't know,
It's about 60,000.
yeah, you know, it's what you've said, but how long do they last? Is it
I don't know,
Based
it's not
on
like
the
something
amount
you
of-
wanna
is it
put on the
based
shelf,
on-
cause they,
on the amount of water that goes through, you know, is it based
Based
on
on-
K-gals?
it debate, no, I think part is based on what you take it out.
What's that's pulling out?
I mean, there's a lot of things that affect them, chlorine can eat them, I mean, there's a lot of things that can affect them. I mean, it's,
So
when it
it's,
comes out, the green sand and nano, it's, well, when it goes to the green sand, it gets your iron and manganese, and then most of it, everything else comes out of it when it goes through that nano filtration, but I don't know, they didn't give us a real, it's gonna last this long. I mean, there's a lot of things that can change that, the pH,
Yep.
the chlorine,
So is there a sensor that goes off that says change your filter like we have for all our filters?
no.
Would be too easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be too easy. No, when we have differential pressures, for the small filters, we have differential pressures, and when they start to get, it's like changing
Yeah.
the filter in your car, and you see the percent, you know, then we get
Yeah.
less losing, so that's when we change them. As far as the nano, then every time it runs, the nano backwashes. Every time that unit starts, it fills the tank, and then it backwashes after, flushes those filters off. But I don't know the longevity of the actual nano filters, I don't,
so is there,
I don't know.
is there a differential pressure or something in the nano filter that you monitor to see if it's?
Yeah, there is multiple, mostly it's the pre-filters, and that's like a engine oil filter, there's, what is there, 15 cartridge filters, like 4 foot tall, and it goes through that first to get rid of any fines, any, you know, usually you're, if any, it's not, I've never seen fines in it, a little bit of discoloration on the filters, but, and those last quite a while, they last probably a month and a half. But usually if the pressures get too far apart, and we can tell, because it'll alarm, so
Mhm.
you can tell when the differential pressure gets too high, you change them. It's like I say, as far as the big filters, I don't know, there is sensors on there that you have to calibrate, for the pH. You wanna make sure pH stays in a certain range, you know, how much chlorine you're putting, you gotta dechlorinate with bisulfite, because if it's too much chlorine, you gotta chlorinate, go through the green sand, dechlorinate, go through the nano, and then rechlorinate to get pushed through the system.
Through the tanks.
Yeah. So there is and if it's, you gotta make sure they're all, cause the chlorine will ruin those filters. You put chlorine in those filters, they're shot, so
So
it's,
a fault in the system could cause that.
it could, absolutely. It could. I've got some valves right now that we're having issues with, they don't seem to close all the way. But hopefully they'll be up here, we've been trying to get them to come up.
All right, well, sounds like it's the best guess on how long it
Yeah.
lasts.
I don't know,
Probably
maybe we'll have
4 years.
more of an idea here when they come
Year
up
and a
and
half.
we do the clean in place.
Yeah, see if we can get a
Uh,
handle on it, just an estimate. You
I
know,
don't remember, they may have gave us an estimate, but I don't remember 10 years, I don't know.
I think it was 8 to 10. 8 to 10 years normal, as long as it doesn't come in contact with any, like the chlorine and any other. Because it just
so,
That's
filter
not like
out
you
and
can,
the
so
it's not like
backwash
you
and
can
get rid
put,
of it.
so based
extras
off
because
that,
they're
we could probably guess
probably gonna
might be-
deteriorate, yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's nothing you don't want just to sit, because if they deteriorate,
yeah,
and you know,
hang around,
and for that price, you don't wanna keep them
new,
stock anyways.
new.
Well, most likely, when you have to change them, you better plan in advance, because you're gonna have to shut down that plant until you change them. And that means there's not gonna be soft water that's gonna be put out here.
Mhm.
Depends on the delivery time of the new nano filters when they,
And I don't know if they just go, I don't think they just go like that. You know, I think it's probably like anything, it's slowly degrading, and that may, as you may see it, as you just test, and may see the hardness start to creep. You know what I mean, that may have something, it may
That
not
might
be
an
like it,
indicator.
yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah. 'cause it's not taking as much out. If they get, they
Well,
can get
when they come up
jelly
here,
or whatever.
ask, pick their brain and ask them that, what, besides hardness, what do I monitor to
They may
limit
have,
the life of this filter?
they may have mentioned or told us, but we had like, when I went down to try to
I
get trained, I had like 2 hours before the guy left for his flight.
Yep.
And I went and signed off, I mean, how do you it's a system is this big and you're trying to take everything in, it was a lot to take in.
Right, now we've used it so you can ask more questions now,
Correct.
right, for it, so what do you ask?
Yeah, it's like anything, you need a little hands-on
Mhm.
to start asking. Some people can't learn by just reading the book, you have to do hands-on, I mean.
And none of those filters are affected by your flushing of hydrants, cause that water's all taken care of beforehand, correct? Or no?
Yeah, they're not, you obviously gotta put more water through them, because whatever we get rid of goes through there, but
Right,
no.
okay.
It-
You know, like
that's-
at home, your filters at home, after you flush, you gotta change those suckers, cause they're clogged, you know? It just is what it is.
Right,
For the famous philosopher.
That's right.
no, this is coming right from the wells, it goes through
Right.
there,
Okay.
and then we send it out.
Okay.
Okay.
I wanna say, I thought it was like 10 years, but I don't
Yeah,
wanna.
Greg's remembering 8 to 10, so if I ever throw an arbitrary number, I'd say 5 to 8. I wouldn't go 8 to 10.
Senility setting in here, so. Do we have a motion to approve?
You did.
We
We
do,
did.
And a second?
yeah.
Is there any further questions on the warrant? If not, a roll call please.
Trustee Trombley,
Aye.
trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley,
Aye.
trustee Garrett,
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. You're up, Mike.
It's been rather quiet, I don't wanna say that too loudly, but we've had a pretty good start to this year. The skating rink is, just about ready, I figure by tomorrow morning we'll flood it, that'll be good to go. Christmas decorations are down and put away, so we won't have to worry about those, till next year. We are having a little bit of trouble with our blowers at the wastewater plant. I think I've got it straightened around now. We're having, with our small blowers, we're having some issues. I think I've got that straightened around. And, Pipeline Mechanical is supposed to get a hold of me this week. They may be coming up to remove the blower, one of our big blowers. We've got 2 big blowers, and one of them doesn't work. I believe the vanes inside of it started to come apart. We haven't used it in a month, more than that probably. So they may come up and start pulling out of there and making room. I should have another update here shortly. I don't know if you've got anything in the last few days.
Just that they may come in, same one you got from Karen.
Okay, they're just waiting for, they did the final approvals. They're waiting, they're waiting for the VFDs. Hopefully, they're supposed to, as soon as he gives me an update on the lead time, then we can see, how far out it is, but it was supposed to be, they originally figured toward the end of January, so, we'll see if it's still to that timeline or not, but it is definitely getting closer. So, other than that, we've had, I just ordered salt today, we've got enough for me to fill the side-up machine once or 2 more times and that's it. We're almost out of salt and, I gotta mix sand again. So, probably next week we'll get another 25 tons of salt. A little bit of work on the truck, we had to bring it to a shop, we had our inspection done, we had a EGR valve pressure sensor that was bad. They took care of that, we put a new wing blade on, serviced a few of our small trucks. Other than that, I did go get recertified for excavator, certified excavator program. That's now a law, almost signed in effect in November. I think everybody's gotta be trained by, I think, April. Anybody, any municipality, any contractor that works for a municipality, they all have to be certified now through DigSafe. Everybody here is gonna have to get it done. And it's not just, they say excavator, it's not just excavator, it could be somebody running a jackhammer, it could be somebody saw cutting the road. If you break the surface, it's considered excavation, so.
So you're gonna be able to get everybody,
Yeah, I'm gonna try here, I'm gonna see if, when I did mine, me and Jimmy did ours, we went to, and they still have it in March, we had to go to Potsdam. Barrington Hall was the whole day, you're gone the whole day. There's so many that have to get certified, and that certification's good for 5 years. So we did ours 2 years in a row, and I didn't have to, and I didn't know that until last year. So this year, we had a hour course in Peru to keep our certification. So I did that, and actually Jimmy had came down, so he's kept his, that way he doesn't have to go back. So the other guys, what I'm gonna do is have them do it online. Because there's so many that need it. Even if we send them and they go to Potsdam for the day, they do the course there, they have to come back and do the test online because it's all done with iPads, and there's not enough Wi-Fi for everybody to use transponders.
really?
There's not enough Wi-Fi to take care of all those, so instead of sending them for the day, I'm better to have them do it here. The course takes like 4 hours. And they can do it over like 2 weeks, so you can go back to it, you have to create a log on.
Yep.
The test is like a 100-question test after, and that you have to do the whole thing, but I'm gonna have them do it here. I think it's $25 a person, so.
Reasonable.
And then once they have it, supposedly, I've been going to every other month, the meetings for DigSafe. Cause if one year they have it in Malone, I don't go to that one, but I usually have one they have in Plattsburgh. And they're working on right now, having a recertification online, trying to get a course online so we don't have to go. But the recertification is not bad, it's an hour. But when you're gonna go to Potsdam and spend the whole day, it's not, if something happens here,
Mm-hmm.
you're, SOL. So I'm gonna see about getting these guys to do it online, whether they wanna do it here during the day or if they'd rather do it in the evening at home or whatever, but it's usually takes 4 hours to do, so.
Did you check Perma? See if it's online?
No, they don't have that, it has to go through DigSafe.
Oh.
They wouldn't have, it has to be through DigSafe. And that's all for, it's the, Public Service Commission's the one that all started, and that's it's damage prevention is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how they're gonna enforce it, as far as if you're not certified. But if you hit something, that's where you're gonna get, fined.
Yeah.
Even municipalities now, they're starting to fine, so, and even contractors, if they work for municipality, they have to have it. If they don't have it, they can't do any government work so. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
How's Mr. King working towards his CDL? We're 1 month down.
He's got his
Keep the
permit.
clock. Okay,
Yeah,
good,
he's got his permit, he sanded this morning,
okay.
so. Yeah, he's been doing sidewalks, today was actually the first day he went out I didn't send him out until the afternoon with the sidewalk machine, so I had him go with Robert this morning. Cause every morning, Robert's been taking off with the plow truck and sent him with the sidewalk machine, so. He's been out, I think 4 or 5 times with the sidewalk machine, so.
Good.
Better to learn them before you get
Oh, yeah.
too much and, learn where all the rough spots are. But he does have his permit, and like I said, today was the first day, he went out and did sanding, so. It's like anything, you gotta start somewhere. I figure it's better to get him out sanding without the plow and wing,
Absolutely.
the first shot.
Yes, definitely.
Gotta get a feel for it anyways.
Well, like I said, if you wanna give me a call, if there's a day you can get a truck in the bay and between runs, I'll come down and help when it's pre-test.
Yeah, you just let me know what day is good for you and we'll make it work.
Okay. Even bring the old one in, it's be the same pre-test.
Yeah, whatever, let me know when.
Nice.
It's good.
Yeah, that's the biggest part of that test. If he fails that, he doesn't get to drive. You're done before you hit the road. He really has to have a good understanding of the equipment, that's all it's about.
Yeah, whatever's good for you, just let me know, we'll make it
Okay.
work.
Do you have the plow on the old truck?
No.
So that's probably the easiest one to do, you can flip the hood.
You can flip it,
Yeah.
you can't flip it on this one.
Yeah, I know, so that's why I thought the old one would be the easier one to get inside.
Yeah. You can tell me everything's wrong with it, we'll do it.
You can make a list?
No, maybe not. Don't check it twice either. That's all I have, if anybody got any questions.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Mike? What's correspondence, please?
Correspondence with EV Connect regarding the chargers and JCO monthly report for December 2018.
Okay. We have the parts to change over that EV charger.
Yeah, I gotta do some,
Just gotta find the time.
I gotta do some,
So we are doing the installation?
yeah, I'll do it one evening, I'll do it like I did the other stuff for him, but I gotta do some electrical, cause it's totally different. The other one, the wires come up inside the tube. This one here, there's no place, it's, you mount the rail and there's no place for the wires to go. So I gotta remove what's there and see if I can put a conduit with a junction box and put 2 flex tight connectors for the power wires.
So they still didn't send you,
Well, they sent me the rail, the aluminum, 8-foot high aluminum rail that mounts the reels and mounts the units, but you gotta have, electrical's gotta come from somewhere. Well, all I had is I hope I left the stub sticking out of the ground, out of the concrete, I can't remember, cause we set the pole over it. Cause I'm gonna have to come up off that with conduit and offset strap it, I mean, it's the only way to, I don't know how else I'm gonna do it.
They will be
I'll
built for
figure it out.
labor and parts.
Okay,
So-
that was my next question.
it's gonna be,
Well,
No, I was thinking it.
it came in, yesterday, it came in Friday. I think it was Friday it came in, but I told, the guy sent me an email that let me know it was here, and I said yes. But it probably won't be one day this week or next week, because it's so cold that, so, I told him I'd let the board know. You know,
okay. Yeah. At least they sent close to the right thing.
Yeah,
It didn't sound like it's all of it though.
Taking an awful long time.
they were pretty resistant to send this.
I know.
They wanted me to make whatever I can make to just get it up, and the over. Well, I sold it.
Okay. Anything else, Mike?
Nope, good.
Alright, let's get the new business done, we've got quite a bit to do here. Resolution polling place and time, 2019 elections, Village of Champlain. Whereas the next village election for offices of the Village of Champlain, New York will be held on March 19th, 2019, and whereas the Board of Trustees of said village must designate by resolution the polling place and hours which the polls shall be open per section 15-104-3B of the State of New York election law. Then, be it therefore resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Champlain has determined the polling place shall be at the Village of Champlain office, 11104 Route 9, Champlain, New York, with the polls being open from 12 noon to 9 p.m. And be it further resolved that as required by section 15-104-3B of the state election law, notice of said village polling place and time the polls will be open be given at least 60 days prior to the said election date. This resolution shall take effect immediately. The motion was made by trustee
So moved?
Trombley and seconded by trustee
So moved?
Yerg to accept the resolution as presented. Roll call vote as follows.
Trustee Trombley,
Aye.
trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley,
Aye.
trustee Garrett,
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. Okay, while we're still dealing with election thing here, do we have to pass a resolution to not hold registration?
No, that's already been abolished.
Okay, well, I saw the thing.
Pre-registration?
I saw
Yeah,
that.
that's
I saw
already
it in the
been,
paper today,
yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
No,
That's
we
the
already,
point.
we already did away with that.
so we still have to send one notice to the paper regarding this?
Just this, we
Just
don't,
this, we don't
Not
have
that.
to do that,
Yeah.
registration day.
Very
once
good.
you do it, it's done.
Alright,
Until you reinstate it.
Okay.
okay. I need a resolution to approve the Champlain Joint Youth Commission Agreement.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
This is actually something that we do every year. The participation price has gone down. As you'll see on the second page, number 7. We pay a certain amount, and then at the end, once the final tally is taken over the, over the course of the year, the expenses, then that final adjustment's made at that point. But this is, what was it last year? Almost
8,
Yeah,
8,000.
closer to 8, wasn't it?
yep. And then we were crushing that based on the amount of participants.
Yeah,
And as you go down to number 13 on the same page,
Yep.
Village of Champlain, Russell's Point will each pay the town $4,000 on July 1st. And then, once the reckoning is made in December, then we approve a different amount, or to follow up
Balance.
with the 6,000, the balance,
With
yes.
the
Thank you.
2131, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Is that all you?
Those are both
So-
tax circle.
I need a motion to approve. Got that, need a second, got that,
Got that.
roll call,
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee Garrett.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
aye. Okay, today is the 14th.
Yep.
And I put December again. Okay, would you give that to Mary, please? Okay, Northern Insuring Agency capitalization invoice. This is as NYMAR, we have switched NYMAR for the village insurance. NYMAR is a publicly owned insurance company with all of the municipalities that are part of this program in New York State, cities, towns, etc. This capitalization invoice is payable over the $430.60 will be paid over the course of the 5 years, so that we are part of this municipal reciprocal. And that was part of the agreement when we took on this insurance policy. We pay it, it's paid for 5 years. As long as we stay in the company after 5 years, we don't pay any more, but we are members of the consortium. So, I need a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I guess no money, roll call.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee Garrett.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. The other form dealing with this insurance, New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal Subscribers Agreement. This is just an agreement that I ran by Mr. Murnane to make sure that we were, not being taken advantage of, because one of his concerns was, is this an insurance trust? Where you kind of buy into this, and then if the expenses go beyond, then you are expected to make up that difference. You see what I mean? So, what he found is it does not fit that criteria. It is, in fact, we are part of the consortium, the insurance consortium, and this is just along with what we're paying here, the $460, this is just the agreement that we signed to participate. I don't know that I need a motion, but I would appreciate one that allow me to sign this.
Make a motion to allow you to sign this agreement?
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right.
No money, so.
It's pretty cut and dry. You wanna read it? It's more than happy, sure. I got a couple extra white hairs reading it, so. Okay. So, I'll sign this. I guess it has to be notarized, as well as that one that we just sent to Mary. And then we can send this off to the insurance company, and everything will be done with that for the year. Okay. Do we have to vote on this? Do
Yeah.
we vote on
Well,
this?
you
Yeah,
asked
but
for a
not
motion and a
individually.
second.
Okay, all in favor of me signing this form?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
Okay, that motion carries. Need a motion, a resolution to participate. There were two things, if I recall correctly, at that land bank meeting. There were two things that was requested. One was a resolution that we were going to participate in that process.
Mhm.
And two, a list of the buildings here in the village that we want to be considered under this land bank
That's
association.
right, I forgot that.
Okay, but first I need a resolution that we will participate.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
have a second, do you wish to, just a resolution that the village of Champlain will be a active participant in the land bank? Is there another word here for land bank? Land bank
No, program?
program, let's use that.
Yeah.
All right, just so we have something on record that we can show
That
the
we-
county treasurer that we are going to participate. I think this is probably the only way we're gonna get to handle these buildings.
Right.
Well, I think it's probably the only way a lot of municipalities in the state that get to handle the buildings these days.
Yes. I mean, we have
It's not just
We have
us.
two. Is that correct?
Yeah.
We have the Patterson building and the old government building.
Main Street, yeah.
Is there any
Well,
more?
we have more we can list.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
and I
would be the critical ones, I would
think you
say
should-
right
I should-
now.
I think you should rank them, but yes, that's the most critical.
Yeah,
But I mean, there's,
There's the one across the street from the old Grange, the
yep,
Frankie Manette's old house.
yeah, Frankie Metzel, that's one I was thinking of, cause that could probably be,
It wouldn't,
revitalized,
yeah, maybe,
maybe,
depending on how much mold is in it.
yeah, maybe. I'm just, so there's that one, and then the old hall, right?
yeah, so the old hall, as far as the revitalization, is the best option,
Yeah.
Probably.
and Patterson's, there's no chance
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
So yeah,
Okay,
we
so
should make
It'd
a
be great
list
if
and
we
maybe,
have a bullet.
maybe a ranking list.
Well, we can put down the three that you mentioned, and then we
Yeah.
can always add or subtract or
Yep.
multiply afterward.
Yep, well, we'll be
I
happy to
mean, she's
be
just
part of-
requesting a list of the properties that we would like to have considered.
Yes, and.
And
I
in
think we'd
discussion
like
with
to
her,
have one
I think
early.
the Patterson building is the number one on the list
Oh,
for.
I agree.
Well, sadly, we're only gonna get one for a long time, though,
Yes,
until the bank gets built up.
Right.
Yeah.
yes. That's what I
So,
was trying to say, I think
I
it'd be
would-
fortunate to get one.
Okay, so we have a resolution
Do the other one, rehab.
and a second.
Yes.
Have we voted?
No, I have not.
Okay, all those in favor of joining the land bank program?
Aye.
signify.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we'll send this resolution to the county treasurer and send her a list of the properties that we would like to have considered on this as well. All right, old business. Anything else? Any other new business? Okay, old business, we've talked a little bit about the blowers. Hopefully, by the middle of February, they'll be up and running. And the Patterson fence is just, it's gonna be there, I guess.
Yep.
So. Any other business?
Well, especially after the story of the kids telling him to come to the back of the house and
Oh
come
my
through the
God,
house.
yes.
And I was like, this fence isn't coming down, folks.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay,
Oh,
if
I
there's
have,
no other,
I have one question
Yes,
before,
yes,
before
yes.
we adjourn.
yes, yes?
Oh, I know we had talked at one point about the changing of term limits.
Yeah, it was on my notes too, was it bring something up?
Mary's
When
done
would
some
we do that?
investigation on that. Mary,
Okay.
would you share what you found?
Okie dokie. Please tell me we can change it so we don't have to walk around in January.
oh no, we can't change the.
Doesn't matter,
It
it's still
won't-
gonna be January.
It probably won't be in
Not as
effect
often.
until next year at this point,
Okay.
because we would have to adopt a resolution, then we have to post that, within 10 days of that adoption. If there's a petition filed by the public, then it could be on March ballot, but at this point, it also has to be reviewed by attorneys before we would actually do that. And if their petition is not filed within that 30 days, then it would take effect automatically. It's something we could do for next year, we wouldn't be able to do it by elections this year.
So what would happen?
No, I realize that, but it would be in effect for future elections
Yes,
if we get it
that's
in
correct,
place.
that's correct.
So
It
what do
is
we do
possible
to
to
need to
do.
move forward?
We need to first adopt a resolution in order to do that.
Okay, I make a motion to adopt a resolution to move forward with extending the term limits from 2 to 4-year terms.
Have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion here?
I'm
Does
not,
everyone understand what,
yeah, I'm not sure if I'm in favor of it. 4 years is a long time. I'm not sure if the advantage is only that we don't have to go out quite as often.
Well, no, my thought process in this, we've been a long-term board, we're comfortable. So how long was it till you felt comfortable in your role? And then you're up for reelection again. And so by the time you get your feet comfortable in understanding what's going on in the board, you're not as an effective a player until that point, right? You're relying on just what everyone is telling you. I mean, that was my thought process behind it. I mean, I know that it was a couple years till I felt comfortable in the role, and still, there's things that, I question. But, I just, and based on how people are willing to step forward to run for offices, it doesn't mean that anyone can't leave their position at any time that they so choose. Right? If it's not working out for them, they're not stuck in that role.
But if it's not working out for the community, then we're stuck with that person for longer.
It's a point.
we've been in that situation, back when you come onto this
Right.
board.
Yeah.
Which
It was a very difficult transition, I can imagine.
Well, I was on the board when the others came on board.
Yeah,
That was when I decided to take a break.
Well, that's a valid point.
That's
It
kind
is
of
a
how
valid point.
I look at it is, yeah, we have to run every 2 years, but it's not that tough to do that again. Currently, we're very committed, so we just keep running, but I just think 4 years is a long time, especially if you get some real negative people with an agenda that's not really moving us forward.
I think I agree with that, although I agree with that, but it also, and I think this is important, and that when we're collecting signatures, we're out knocking on doors, and I know it's not very comfortable sometimes. You spent some cold nights in the garage that wasn't overly warm. But nonetheless, it has us going out and knocking on doors and talking to people. You look at the participation that we have as the village residents, are they happy? I assume that they are. But they do come in when they're unhappy with something that's going on, and I think that that's great. But it also, as an elected person on the board, I really feel it's necessary to go out and to talk to people, to have them talk to you when you ask them for a signature. To say to them, I'd like to have your signature so that I can run for mayor, trustee, whatever it may be. And then that gives them the opportunity to say, well, I'd like to see this change, or I'd like to see that change. I think 4 years is too long to hold a position.
Well, I think I gotta agree with it, it's a very valid point. At first I'm thinking, yeah, within the terms makes sense, you don't have to run so often, but I remember back when that board was in, 2
I
years is
mean,
a long time.
you look at the composition of this board, we've been together for 15 years.
Well, not me.
Well, most of us. You've been here for 5. I think this is a very forward-moving board. I think it has the community's best interest in their hearts and their minds. I think that all of you have been very productive in terms of representing the constituents of this village. And I believe that will go on. I believe that will continue to be, you will continue to serve in that manner. To have the best interest of the community in mind as you move forward. I think the village is in pretty good shape at this point. And I'm sure that under your guidance, it will continue. But that's just my thoughts. So you can start the process. I think, if you wish you do, that's fine. But, it's gonna be a year from now until it really gets into effect, so.
I mean, is there something that we put this to vote to our villagers to see if they want that?
You can put it on, Mary, is it, if somebody
Yeah.
brings in a petition, that
Yeah.
you can bring it up as a referendum?
Yeah, it's a.
But they have to bring in a petition.
Or the village board, if the village board chooses to put this up
Yeah, you can automatically put it on the ballot if you wish to, instead of waiting for referendum, filed by the public. You
Is
can-
that the permissive in the,
Permissive is only at the request of the public,
right?
and
Remember, we were in that position when
what's the other one?
Mandatory.
dissolution was.
Mandatory is automatically has to go on to the ballot, this one does not have to go on to the ballot.
You could pose that question on that.
Mhm.
Well, we have a resolution,
It's
we have
only
a,
to do
we have
it,
a
yeah.
second.
The only negative to putting it on there on the ballot is you're getting a small percentage because of each term.
To go house to house, and that's,
I'll add that to my clipboard.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I think what you're going to get and what you're going to see, I know that people here, if it's something that they are really concerned with, as we have seen in the past, they will turn out to vote. But if it's something that, you know, if there's no big issue that's involved, you know, we get, what do we normally get at an election?
30
30.
something.
30 to 35.
40.
Oh, 40,
That's a
you're
big
pushing it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
you're really
a-
That's a
pushing
good
it.
turnout.
That's an excellent
Hey,
turnout.
we had over 100 in the heyday.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
that's
I
it,
mean,
they had a
when
reason.
I recall.
No, that,
You had
that
more than
election
that.
was over 300.
Yeah, it was over 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recall
It was over
those
3 on
two,
that one.
those two divisive issues, at least as long as I've been here, those two divisive issues that, I mean, you had the 350s, 355s, 360s.
Oh, yeah.
So the people are there, and they will come out and vote if they are, you know, if they see that
If they see a need.
it is something that, you know, needs to be addressed. But you have a resolution, you have a second, if you wish to vote on it, or you can hold off on the resolution until you decide what you wanna do. You have time.
Well, we have a motion and a second on the table, so.
Or you just, if there's no, if you don't vote, there's nothing there.
Okay.
You can table the resolution.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Talk about it, discuss it, you know,
Yeah.
when you're going to it tonight, talk about it. Ask people. See somebody at the post office, ask them, what do you think about this?
I don't see anybody at the post office. It's
What?
closed when I get out of work. And then if I see them in Plattsburgh, they're not in the village. I can't vote anyway.
I don't think people are going to feel strongly one way or another,
I
to
don't
tell you the
either.
truth. They're very,
No, they'll
from
trust
what
what.
we heard last
Mhm.
Saturday, people were very happy with how things were going, and I don't think that that's going to be very important to them.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. I think it was more of a, like Amy said, I mean, I've been here a long time, and it takes you a while to get there and get comfortable to maybe disagree with a fellow board member in a meeting, but it takes you a long time to get there.
Well, just
It's
to-
2 years,
just
you're
to- just
barely
to
getting
learn-
your feet wet.
Just to learn enough to make a valuable contribution, I guess is the way to put it.
And so I was thinking more of the initial people coming on, you know, but then I
Yeah,
get your
but then you
point.
can't, you
I-
can't
I
say
really-
just
Some of
newly
the-
That's a
elected.
very valid
Right, you
point.
can't say,
And
okay,
I'm
well,
afraid
you know
to-
what, you're not working with any of us, it's time to go bye-bye. But, I mean, you've gotta get people to run, I mean, that's the whole piece too, is in those situations.
And then the flip side of that is,
I think you're gonna say exactly what I was just gonna
people
say.
don't wanna run for 4 years.
Yeah,
They may wanna try it, but don't know if they wanna.
Yeah.
exactly,
right.
4 years,
a
that's a
2-year
long
term is
time.
more easy to swallow when it,
It ain't broke,
Regards to
don't
trying
fix it, just a thought.
Alright,
yeah.
well, that was
I
a
mean, I
good
don't
thought.
care either way, it just seems insane to have such short time periods.
It
It
is
seems to come
easier,
around fast.
it is easier to convince people to try it when it's a 2-year term though.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was just
It
saying.
it really is.
I always
Yeah.
thought the mayor's term should be 20 years, but
Hey, yeah, could we change that right now?
What's that?
A
Change
resolution.
mayor.
just say,
A
disagree,
resolution needs to
For 20
disagree.
years.
Well,
You've only done 8, you told me.
oral persons 116.
Really?
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was 14
Oh, was it
14
16
years
as
as
mayor?
a trustee, I think it was like 20 years altogether.
Oh, is that it? Maybe I
But
was
he was,
misspoken then,
I'm
sorry.
coming
Thank
on
you.
that,
was-
I'm knocking close to
Public
that.
service, yeah.
They didn't have any shared
I
water
thought he was
projects, did
16
they?
I thought he was 16 as
he
a
might have
mayor.
been 16 as mayor and 4 as a
That's
trustee.
that sounds reasonable. I was pretty sure he was 16 as mayor, we have to look it up.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you. Are we doing any, additional